For those who are new to the Detroit Reparations Task Force public meetings, welcome. I want to take a second to do a quick roll call of the members that are present. Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me now? Oh, I can hear myself. All right. Member Calloway is present. Member Williams.
Here.
Member Lars Sosa.
Here.
Member Tyus. Member Chike.
Present.
Member Robinson. Member Collins. Member Parker.
Here.
Member Hicks.
Here.
Member House. Member Hazel. Member Ford.
Here.
And Member Jack. Here. What's that? That's quorum. Okay, wonderful. So really quickly, I wanted to give a couple of remarks, something that I live by, something that I kind of do every day when I wake up. It's The Mandate for Black People by Mary Hooks. For those who are familiar, you know it's a call and response, but for today, I'll just read it. So the mandate for Black people in this time is to avenge the suffering of our ancestors, to earn the respect of future generations, and to be willing to be transformed in the service of the work, which means we know we have a journey ahead of us. Let's hang in there together and get through what we need to get through and overcome obstacles together. So everybody that walked in, when you signed in, you received a quick survey. I'm gonna have Member Hicks briefly give you an overview of what this is and yeah, what we're gonna do with it. Member Hicks. Okay. Your microphone.
Thank you. As we've been meeting, we've had a lot of back and forth. Some of us have tried to focus some of this back and forth, but it occurs to us when we have really have not done, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, a good job of asking you about what your expectations are of us. To what degree should we drill down on X and Y and so forth? I'm mindful of the point, and I think others are, that there is no one answer to any particular set of problems, as well as there are those occasions where two things can be right at the same time, or three things can be right at the same time. So at some point we had to figure out a way, and the suggestion on this paper is to figure out a way to kind of measure these things between each other. So what you have is a document in front of you. The document essentially restates what our objective is in terms of the reparations. It has a brief discussion I asked you to read on what local reparations are. And then at one point, I want you to flip it over, and what you see a $10,000 bill. This is obviously a fictitious bill, and what we're trying to do is you to read items A, B, C, and D, and then try and distribute those things into the categories in which you're in. For example, the first one, it says, seek apologies for the city from city government. If that's all you wanted us to do, for example, you would then put 100%, or if you thought it was half of what we should be doing, 50%, or whatever the case may be. And then the second one is seek to identify policy reforms to create equitable series of programs. So if you wanted us to move into that programmatic area, then you would give us your reaction on, and again, if it was 90% of what you think you do, put 90 in there. If it was only 10% of you wanted to, put that in there. Then the third one is to seek a transformative agenda for the future of Detroit by changing the basic objectives of local government. Now, this one is a much more ambitious item. In some ways, you can say what we're pushing for is local government to be efficient. But do we really want to stop at pushing for it to be just efficient? Do we want them to be more efficient in allocating our tax dollars? Do we want it to become more efficient in foreclosures? You know, no, we may not want that. So what we're asking for in that particular instance is to look at, think, how can we transform our government? What are the objectives? What are the things that we're looking at as citizens in that regard, okay? And these may not currently be the current list of things that in your mind that government does. Government, for example, and I've had the occasion, I hope everybody is like a member. We just recently opened up the Detroit People's Food Co-op over on Woodward Avenue. Well, you know, why can't government, if they're supporting entrepreneurs and big business and so forth, why can't government support co-op development in housing and food distribution and any number of areas? If you think that's a significant path for us to investigate, then you would give it appropriate score there. The last one, D, is a little more direct. And when I say a little more direct, we've heard, and I think all of us are listening as we have sat over these months. Some people started off their presentation and have concluded their presentation with said, cut the check. You know, just, you know, reparations should just be a cash payment, cut the check. If that's where you are, for example, then tell us that. You know, if you think that you're only 70% there, meaning that maybe 30% should be looking at some other kinds of things, then weigh it appropriately. And that's what essentially this survey tends to do. This is on the front end of likely a series of surveys that we're going to do over time, because part of our responsibility is to put ourselves in the best position to get information guided by your thoughts, your particular priorities, and your concerns. We'll figure out a way to write them up. We'll figure out a way to do all the other things that you would expect out of a panel. But the bottom line is this is a citizen-driven process, and we need to make it stay that way. So if you take the time to do that, if you want to, there's room at the bottom on the first page of the form for you to give your name and email, so that if you wanted us to follow up with you on something or whatever the case may be, that is on there as well. So that's essentially this form. I hope that it has been distributed. Is anybody who's not gotten a copy of this particular form?
Wonderful.
Okay. Okay. So in that case, toward the end of the meeting, what I'd like to do is someone remind us to kind of to remind you to either finish up the form or turn your forms in, okay? But and I guess the other possibility, because there's no reason why we have to limit this, because the room only has certain constrictions. Mm-hmm. There's no particular reason why you can't go home and copy this particular form and send it back in to us. Distribute it to your friends and so forth. The more reaction that we get in terms of distribution of our tasks as outlined on the back side of this is going to be helpful to us. So with that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Hicks. So really quickly, want to take a moment of silence, a really quick moment of silence to reflect on the path that brought us here and the journey that we have before us. So if you could indulge me for a moment. Thank you all so much. Moving down to line item number 4, the approval of the agenda.
So move.
Any objections?
There's no
Any
second
amendments?
to it. No second to it. I have a suggestion or change.
Well, there was no second, so. Member Parker?
I'd like to move that we approve the agenda with the change of adding public comments after number 10.
All
Through the
right.
chair, I second Bernard's motion.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to amend the agenda to include public comment. Any objections? So moved. So we will have public comment briefly. Where would you like to put that, Member Parker? Under new business? After new business, okay. So after new business, we'll have an opportunity for public comment. Thank you so much. Moving down to the approval of the minutes, we do not have the minutes readily available for our May 4th meeting, but they will be available at our next meeting, and we'll make sure everybody gets that. Member Hazel, are you prepared for a treasurer's report?
I am, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I'm Janice Hazel, and I am out of District 7. And the treasurer's report is to report that we are making progress. The project manager and I have been meeting and receiving, is it on? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, thanks. So I don't know if you all heard that. I'm Janice Hazel out of District 7. And the treasurer's report is to indicate that the project manager and I have been meeting. We received a printout from the Office of the Chief Financial Officer, which does provide the details of the status of invoices, paid and pending. And so we are meeting weekly, and I will now be able to have a detailed treasurer's report for you, financial report in the next meeting, which will be July. And the holdup is you can access on our webpage on the City of Detroit's website the expense report that's provided by the Office of the Chief Financial Officer. However, it does not really give details. It only gives you the salaries of our staff. It gives you operating expenses. And that doesn't tell you anything, because the real picture of finance tells what the organization is doing. So I will have that for you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hazel. Do any of our chairs have subcommittee reports to give? Member Parker?
If you ask, I'll give one.
Wonderful.
The Housing and Land Use Task Force, I can't see if the grade is on or not. Is it on?
No, can y'all hear him?
Now it just came on, okay. The Housing and Land Use Committee has been meeting, and we have come up with 12 recommendations of reparations, and it's now in the hands of the task force, and we hope to have something completed within the next couple of weeks, and we're going to send it out as to anyone that has come to any of our meetings that gave us their email. It'll be on our website. We'll use other social media to try to distribute it, and then any meetings we go to, we will have them available there, because as Dr. Hicks said, that we want input. It's time now for us to have the community to share with us what priorities they think that we should be looking at. We can't say that we're going to do them all, but we hope to be able to make some determinations. So we also are planning to be at African World Festival with a booth, and hopefully we can have thousands of people to come there and fill out this survey, as well as any other meetings that our staff go to and any of the meetings that we may attend. We really hope to get a large number of people to say what they think reparations is. Not only do we want to make sure we're focusing in on what people want, but also as we write our report, it'd be very good to say that over 5,000 people thought that this particular issue is very important. So that's the report right now. Hopefully at our July meeting, we'll have the survey completed.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Member Parker. Were there any other chairs that'd like to report out on subcommittee meetings?
I can give the report with Edith if she'd like to help.
Yes.
All
The report
right.
out on government and policy.
Member Larsosa with the assistance of Member Ford.
This is Jason speaking, Jason Larsosa. I'll be reporting out on government and policy. Sorry if this is a repeat, because I did give an update on this about a month ago, but we realized that there are new people in the room each time. We came out of Member Ford and I, along with other community members who were able to join on Saturdays based on their availability, were able to come out of our committee with about 6 or 7 buckets of work. We didn't come out with specific recommendations yet, because we think that we've taken the work as far as we can go as task force members, and we like to elicit the feedback and the ideas of community and to work with some consultants to put some flesh to the bones that we've come out with. So as a bit of a repeat, I can go over with you, with Member Ford's help, some of the bucket areas that we outlined. One was around criminal justice reform, and as a reiteration, when we think about criminal justice or criminal legal reform, it's really 3 buckets of work there in and of itself: policing, prosecution, and penalty. And the impact that policing, prosecution, and penalty, the economic impact that it's had on Black people in Detroit. Can give some specifics around that, but I won't go too deep into the weeds right now. Another bucket that we addressed is environment, and specifically there was a lot of conversation around trucking and the need to regulate. how much access trucks, for instance, have inside neighborhoods. Another bucket that we came out with was,
One of them was creating a committee that would be created after the task force is over to look at all the city's policies and ordinances to make sure they are equitable. For example, we need an ordinance or that would be a law in city terms, that we have equitable development in our city. It cannot just be focused on one area with all the other areas being neglected. Also, yes, with the environmental policy, if you notice, all of us in our different communities that are where Black people moved when they moved out of the Black Bottom in Southwest Detroit are always around environmental areas. I'm very involved in an environmental action group at Eastside Community Network. The state allows, in the city, allows a lot of toxic gases to be emitted in the air. They don't take care of the residents that live around them. And if you think about where you live right now, you're probably around a factory or railroad tracks. So that needs to be some policy behind that. And those are like two other things that I think that we really need to focus on. But of course, if you have some more ideas, we want them because we are going to contract a researcher to help us with that. So we want to make sure when we do the RFP to hire them that we have everything in there. We don't want to leave out what's important.
yeah. And then I'll add, thank you, Member Ford. We talked about taxes, specifically income taxes. And I'll give you a little bit more information on that. We talked about parks and recreation, and we also talked about our assets. So here's a brief overview of each of those. When we talk about income taxes, if you live in the city of Detroit and you work in the city of Detroit, you pay twice the income taxes from those. You pay 2 times the income taxes, I think at least, of a person who does not live in the city of Detroit, but they work in the city of Detroit. And otherwise, you're penalized. We're penalized for living here and working here. And we think that that's something that should be reversed. I guess that is kind of a specific recommendation, but we need the community to help flesh that out. We talked about parks and recreation. If you're somebody who enjoys going to the fireworks along the lake, St. Clair, or other places outside of the city of Detroit, you'll recognize that some of these parks, unless you have a municipal ID for those places, you don't have access to those parks. So here in the city of Detroit, everybody got access to us, and sometimes it's hard for us to even get down there. So we need to explore whether it's appropriate, in our opinion, to reverse that. Should people from outside of the city be paying something or at least more than what residents are paying as a form of revenue stream to fund reparations or repair? And then, and talking about assets, this is a big one. We lost the water department and we lost Belle Isle under a manufactured bankruptcy. Everybody knows that's what the facts are. But when we lost these assets, we lost huge opportunities for creating wealth for Detroiters. Our water department, being the envy not only of the country but arguably of the world, had the ability to bottle water. Sometimes you bottle water and it says from a municipal source. That's somebody's local water source. They filtered it and they bottled it up and they sold it. People in the United States have a hard time getting water. When we lost the water department, we lost an opportunity to differentiate ourselves as a city and create a lot of wealth for the residents who live here. So these are the buckets that we've outlined. We haven't fleshed it out. We want to get y'all ideas. We're going to have some facilitated discussion today. I'll give you a little bit more information on that when we come back to it. But for now, that's our government and policy report.
Thank you, Government and Policy Subcommittee. Are there any other chairs that would like to report out?
All I'm going to say, the Financial Committee is going to be, we'll start back up with meeting next week, and we're going to be meeting every other week.
All right, thank you, Member Williams. We're making fantastic time. It is 2:20. So, what was, quality of life? Yes, Member Hazel.
Thank you. And I chair the Quality of Life Subcommittee, and I invite you to come. We have changed from every week on Wednesdays to once a month. Every week is becoming unsustainable. So we are going to be once a month on the second Thursday of the month. So our next meeting on Zoom will be on June 13th, and that's 5:30 p.m. And I don't know if there are any flyers around with the website address, but the website address, you can get the Zoom link and click on it and attend. And so our vice chair is member Camille Collins in the black, along with member Yolanda Jack, two people from me. And right now, we are working on, along with members of the public, residents like you, and we invite more people. We have business owners, we have PhD candidates, we have civic association presidents who are participating and giving us recommendations, and we want more recommendations. So right now, we're looking at developing strategies and recommendations to improve mass transit, access to healthy food and clean water, urban agriculture, and anything else that falls under quality of life. Obviously, health and well-being, healthcare. So we're looking at food deserts, eliminating food deserts in the city of Detroit. Something very distressing to me that I've heard from the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation and other entities, that there are no food deserts in the city of Detroit. And I dare say that the people who are saying this don't live in the city of Detroit, but they work here, and they have 2 and 3 and 4 grocery outlets in their neighborhoods outside the city of Detroit. So we need to change that. And a food desert is defined by a grocery store or no grocery store within 1 mile of your home. I can say that. Me too. For sure. Okay, but then when I have to go into Dearborn or Southfield to go grocery shopping, there are 3 and 4 grocery outlets, all clustered together in less than 1 mile of each other. So we need to address that. And my colleague, Dr. Hicks, talked about the co-ops. And yes, I'm a member of our new latest co-op, and I invite you to do that also. Access to clean water is another area that we're looking at expanding. One idea is expanding the Detroit Water and Sewage Department's Lifeline program, which launched, I believe, 2 years ago, so that there's an income tiered cost to water and sewage services. I know my water bill is typically about $10, but the sewage services and the runoff services are like $50 and $60. So my water bill is like around $70 a month. And so we're looking at that, and we invite your other recommendations. Accessibility and mobility throughout the city is a real challenge. I stated in a meeting with our academic partners, the University of Michigan, of which I'm an alumni, that I was traumatized by the Detroit public transit system. And that's 40 years ago that I was going to Cass Tech. Joy Road, I'm still waiting for that Joy Road bus, and it's been 40 years. So, that Joy Road bus, okay? Grand River was running, but I had to take the Joy Road to get to Grand River to get downtown, and I'm still waiting for the Joy Road. So that is an access and mobility issue. And for someone who didn't start life with handicaps or disabilities, but have developed them in an older age, I was all city basketball, volleyball, cheerleading, gymnastics, all of that growing up. Let me see if there's any West Side Cubs in the room, because I started out there, but developed it. And it's very difficult for people with any type of disability, whether it's cognitive, whether it is mobility, whether it's vision, whether it's hearing, to get around in the city. So we are trying to come up with recommendations to resolve that. Education, obviously, access to attainment of post-secondary education, free. The Detroit Promise program, we've been hearing, doesn't always work for our children, so we need to address that and have something else going for it. And I just want to go back to access of mobility. We know that the city of Detroit is highly redlined in terms of auto insurance, in terms of housing, homeowner insurance. And something that was brought to our attention is that, similar to the state of Michigan's insurance commissioner offering Michigan basic homeowners insurance for those who can't get insured by commercial carriers like a Travelers or a Mutual of Omaha or Allstate, there should be developed an insurance program for automobiles in the city of Detroit by the city of Detroit. And that's one of the ideas on the survey that I hope that you will take. The other thing under mobility is changes to the state's auto insurance, PIP, personal insurance protection. Right. In 2020, we know there's a big change throughout the state of Michigan, but it really did not help us, particularly people who are on the lower income spectrum in the city of Detroit who are using Medicaid. Those motorists don't get the options of the PIP reduction in auto insurance like a private. So if you have a private insurance, such as employer-based, you get a better insurance rate than those who are receiving Medicaid, which makes no sense, because if you're receiving Medicaid, you are on the lower income spectrum. So we're going to address things like that. So I hope that you will join us, and if you can not join us, please participate in our surveys, email our project manager. That email address is detroit@reparations.me.
Reparations at.
Reparations
at DetroitMI.
DetroitMI.gov.
And it should be at the bottom of all the surveys.
Yeah, and you can also email me directly, which my email address is detroitreparations@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hazel. All right, with that being said, were there any more chairs that wanted to give really quick updates or report outs? All right, fantastic. So the time is now, 2:27. Member Larsosa, do you want to take about 3 minutes to give an overview? Is that enough time for you? Because I do want to give you that solid time for your facilitation.
Yes, so should we just get started?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, again, this is Jason speaking. We are going to try something a little bit different today. We're going to try to have a conversation, y'all. So, because of the logistics and stuff, there's going to be need to figure some things out. You will see that along the windows and on the board in front of you, we've got stickies up, and that's because we may be moving around and participating in some scribing as a group. But first, let me draw in the project manager and Evan, so I won't misspeak. I want to go over group agreements and the purpose of this activity, but first I want to make sure what we can do logistically. I tend to, when I facilitate discussion, just tell people to jump in, go ahead and talk, and respond to each other. And if it gets out of hand, I'll start putting people on stack, and the rest of the task force or somebody out here can help keep track of who's got their hand up. But I don't know if that's possible because this is a recorded meeting, and I think you need to have a mic. Is that right?
That's correct, but we should have an additional mic. Evan had to step away to get more chairs.
Okay.
So as soon as he returns, he can circle the room with the mic.
All right, so we're going to try to keep the conversation as organic as possible, but y'all heard it. If you want your comments kept for the record, you probably can't just shout something out. You got to wait for that microphone, okay? All right, so what are we doing? There's been a lot of questions and interest in subcommittees. Last month, we tested out breakouts, and what we've learned from both sets of opportunities is that people really want to engage. You come here because you want your thoughts to be heard, and you want those thoughts to be incorporated into whatever recommendations get put into our report and put forward to the city council. We're in a small space, so we couldn't do breakouts, and we have not yet figured out what would work in terms of a cadence for subcommittees, both with internal task force members and with the public. So this is a little trial right here to try to get people to engage and get your input and to document it in a way that we can use it in our recommendations. So if y'all are willing to try this out with me, let me say okay.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. All right. All right, so a little bit more overview is that as we think about this recommendation, what some of us might envision is a booklet or binder of sorts that has the verbiage around what we recommend, the harms that we believe have been caused, but also some illustrations, pictures of y'all participating, and pictures of your ideas plastered on the wall, so that we've got just clear documentation of not only what it is we think should happen, but what the experience was as we went through this together, okay? So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish with us today. as we get started, I just want to go through some group agreements so we all are on the same page about how we're going to move in this space. We good? Before you, on the easel, you will see about 4 or 5 group agreements. Those are the ones that I would like for us to start with, Madam Chair. May I call on you to come help me,
you
Vanna?
calling on me?
You, Vanna? Okay. I'll stand up.
You could be Vanna.
I can't be Vanna.
Come on, Vanna.
I can't be Vanna. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I need some volunteers to help me scribe. Any volunteers? Any of y'all got some teacher handwriting? Need about 3 volunteers.
Thank you.
Come on up, Lacey.
Come on.
Give Lacey a hand, y'all. She's the first one to volunteer. Come on, Lacey. Come on, Lacey. You right there.
ma'am.
You at the front. You Vanna. I'm gonna need about 3 more to work the walls, y'all. You don't have to volunteer just yet, but Lacey, you right there in the front. Group
Right?
agreements.
Group agreements.
Okay, so we just need a set of rules for us to be able to engage in this
You have a
space. So
hand
the
in-
first one up
you
there
have
is
a hand in the
love.
back, you have the hand in the back. to
Thank
help.
you. You volunteering?
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Work your way to the side. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, give her the hand. We're on a roll here. I think this one would be a good place to start. Okay, and we'll get you some markers. So I just want us to be on the same page about how we're going to engage with each other in this space, so we can be productive. The first group agreement you'll see up there is love. Really, we're just saying that we all black for the most part. We're here to address black issues. This is going to be a place of healing, and so we agree to treat each other with love and respect. The second one, I believe, is accessibility. Probably at least a third of Detroiters experience some kind of disability. I'm so glad that you raised this issue, Member Hazel. So to the best of our ability, employ practices that would make the room more accessible to people. Member Hazel mentioned blindness or low vision or being deaf or hard of hearing. You'll notice that every time I take the microphone, I say, this is Jason speaking. That's because there may be people in the room who are relying on translators or interpreters. And if you don't announce who you are before you speak, people won't know who's talking if they're deaf or hard of hearing. So I just invite you to try that on. It's an easy hack. It's also a great way for us to get to know each other. And for the people who are zooming in, it's a great way for them to know who's speaking to. What's the next one on there, Lacey? Yes, and as opposed to no, but. Sometimes you're going to hear things that you knee-jerk reaction is to disagree with it, but try to find the commonalities. Hear what somebody says, and instead of no, but it's yes, and here's some more to think about too. Lean in. You're also going to hear some things that make you feel uncomfortable or that you absolutely disagree with, but I would just urge us all to lean into that discomfort and try to figure a way forward as a group, because that's what we are. We're a family and a group.
That's it. If I could add, I don't know if we're supposed to do that.
Yeah, so Lacey's about to add something. I guess the next group agreement I would suggest is that wait for the microphone. I would have told y'all just go ahead and blurt your stuff out, but it ain't gonna operate that way because the microphone is needed to catch you. So wait for the mic. Lacey?
So when you said accessibility, I also think the folks that couldn't be here because of transportation, childcare, et cetera, that's an accessibility problem that we would share what we learn and how we engage today to as many Detroiters as possible.
So make sure we share. Okay, that's a group agreement. Make sure we share what we learn. Is there anything that should be up there that's not up there from your perspective in the room? Are these group agreements that we can all be on the same page with? If so, thumbs up. All right, so let's get started. This is a conversation that we can all engage in as task force members and as community residents equally. I just ask that you wait for the mic to speak. The first question, so we're going to go through a set of brainstorms. Yeah, you're done for there, but you can make your way to the wall now. You make your way to the wall. So we're going to brainstorm a set of 3 questions. The first one is, what are the beautiful things about black folks in Detroit? What are our contributions? What are our aspirations? I really just want y'all to share what you think about when you hear that. The next bucket we're going to explore is, what are the harms that have been caused?
Slow down,
Going
Jason.
too fast.
Slow down.
I'm just giving an overview.
Okay.
I'll slow down though. The next thing we're going to be addressing is, what are the harms that have been caused to black folks? And as you think about that, what are things that the city has done directly, but also what are things that the city just didn't do anything to stop it? What, in other words, what has gotten in our way of being the best of who we can be? That's going to be the second set. And then the third is going to be, and we're going to go through them one at a time, the third is going to be, what are our recommendations for going forward? What is the repair? What are we going to do about it? What do we think the city should do about it? All right, everybody got them? Should I repeat them? Okay. The first is going to be, what are all the beautiful things about black folks in Detroit? What have been our contributions? What are our aspirations? What are our capabilities? What are our strengths? Who are we as an asset? And then the second thing we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about them one at a time. The second thing is going to be, what have been the harms that have been caused by the city, or what harms have been caused that the city could have prevented over time but just didn't? And then the third bucket is going to be, what are our recommendations for repair?
More
How do we heal? We got on this time? All right, so with that, I'm going to shut up and just ask the first question. And if you want to be heard, raise your hand and somebody will rush to you with a mic. And as you talk, your ideas are going to be added to the board so that we can document it and use it. What do you think about when you think about the beauty of black folks in Detroit?
In 1 minute or less?
Try to be, we should have said be mindful as a group agreement. Be mindful that there are a number of people in the room and we only got a little bit of time.
He would talk about 1 minute or less when it came to me. Like I'm gonna be long-winded.
And state your name for us, please.
I'm Tahira Ahmed, and I'm with the Coalition for Property Tax Justice and a whole bunch of other organizations. One thing that's really great about the people of Detroit, I remember the '67 rebellion, and when people were looting all the stores, that meant we had neighborhood stores back then. That meant that the store would get burnt down and there would be no food in that immediate area. And a lot of people didn't have cars. But one thing I remember about that is we had dog food for days. People would come by and just give us bread, give us dog food, and we could sleep on the back porch without locking the doors or that before that. Then when the dope was dropped in Detroit, that's when we had problems. So what I love about Detroiters is that we loved each other, and we still do.
Love each other, help each other, stick together. Thank you, Tahira. Who else? What do y'all think about?
One back here.
I, Miss Regan, I have been chosen over the past years, I don't like dope anyway, but I didn't know that, but I didn't eat up what they're talking about. But concern and opinion, I've been threatened about some truck over here they want. I had to just ignore and keep walking. But I haven't been involved in too much in that type of truck, whatever they're talking about, because I don't have driver's license. That was because at the court somebody lied and I was listening, but kept walking and crying couple of summers ago. So, if it fires more, of them using harpoon, it might be done to me or not. But still, I'd like for Detroit to stay beautiful and black, and when it's in our heart, what's count, what make you beautiful. Because some people put on all this makeup and shame others. We have to use beauty what's in it.
Detroiters have beauty within. It's in our hearts. It's what's in our hearts that makes us beautiful. We got up here? After you get back there?
Oh, stand up, if you can.
Yeah. Cecily McClellan. And one of the things that I've loved about the city of Detroit is that it has been the home and the bastion of social movement and progression. Many of the movements started here in the city of Detroit. And if we look at the shrines of the Black Madonna, the Nation of Islam, the first march that before it was in Washington was in the city of Detroit. Detroit has always been a home to very progressive, positive, strong-minded African Americans.
Thank you.
That's right. Good, good. Y'all doing a great job. We got some folks up here.
Stand up.
If you feel. All right, Baba.
Okay, that's 30. Yeah, Victor Gibson, affectionately called Baba Gibson. I think what really beautiful about Detroit is that when we finally had enough, now we'll play with you for a minute, we'll let things slide, but when we finally had enough, this city is capable of coming together like no other city that I've seen.
Amen.
And that's what I'm finally hoping that we will kind of bring us back together and quit, you know, this division that we, in our own little silos, how we're working individually, that when we finally say it's time, Detroit will be there. And that's what I love about this city.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you missed
This
one,
is
Evan.
Jason.
Hold on.
Just a piece of housekeeping.
Gotta read it.
Do we have people who are participating by Zoom? Because what we'll do is check in from time to time to see if there's something that
We
people
currently
want to
have
add.
3 hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, let's jump to Zoom real quick. We won't make them wait, and then we'll come back to the floor.
But don't forget Miss Lacey up here.
I won't.
Okay.
The first hand we have on Zoom is Detroit Grassroots Coalition.
This is Jason. And Emberly, if we have tech issues, we can come back to Detroit Grassroots Coalition. They won't lose their place.
Okay, I want to give them an opportunity to unmute. I just asked them to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Absolutely.
Seem to be having some sort of technical issues online, or they
Okay,
could not unmute themselves.
let's come up to Lacey and then come back to your next person on Zoom.
Can I help? Is it okay? Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Attorney Norel Hempill. And just to answer the question about what's beautiful about Detroit, the people, number one. While we have a national conversation around water and water affordability, we must remember that the architects of water affordability were the late, great Mother Joanne Watson and of course, the late Mary Ann Mahaffey. They wrote the first water affordability legislation in the nation, the entire nation. And now that same legislation is still being used across the nation. And Detroit is still a model for water affordability across the nation. So what we do in Detroit with the Lifeline Plan is being modeled across the state. And it's also being used in real time to inform water affordability federally, so across the nation, across the United States still. And I know I keep saying the same thing over and over, but I really want everybody to hear that we are still the ones who are being looked at and being used as a model for water. We have some of the greatest water in the entire nation. While Mother Rosa Parks is often heralded as being someone who belongs to Birmingham, she did some great organizing here in Detroit.
Yes.
When Malcolm X did his speech, message to the grassroots, that was delivered here in Detroit. Detroit is where the black middle class was born. There's just so much rich, as Mama Cecily said, so much rich organizing and so much rich history in Detroit, and it hasn't gone away. We're still doing the organizing. We're still doing that coalition building. We're still fighting for black liberation in real time.
I just want to make sure that all of those things were called. So I heard national model for water affordability and a couple of the names that were called out.
Yes.
We got rich history of civil rights struggle, a couple names called out.
Yes.
And what was the last point you made?
The black middle class.
Oh, yeah,
Black-
development, not only of the black
Yeah.
middle class, but the middle class, period.
Period.
Yep.
But also
But specifically black middle
the
class,
black
though.
middle class.
Yes, yes.
We're still the blackest city in the nation.
That's right.
And what's her name for the record?
Let's come to Lacey, and then let's go back online. Thank you so much for that, sister. Lacey's right here front.
Evan, really quickly, before you leave her, can you repeat your name, please?
For the record.
For the record.
Yes, Attorney Norrell Hemphill.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I want you to keep me on time. Well, I think we should just maybe spend 20 minutes with this first portion, and then 20 minutes, or maybe 15 with the subsequent ones.
Okay, well, we'll give this one about 4 more minutes.
Okay,
So then
thank
we'll
you.
be exactly at 2:50.
Thank you.
4 minutes, y'all.
So for me, what's beautiful about black people in Detroit is we're like everybody's around the world's big brother, big sister. So we're the big brother to Chicago, we're the big brother to almost everywhere when it comes to black people. So when I go anywhere in the country, haven't been out the nation yet except to Canada, and I say I'm from Detroit, everybody knows me. It's like Detroit's in the house. And to me, that's a pride thing. So I think we wear our Detroit swagger and our Detroit pride well in a positive connotation, and then the negative connotation is something else, but we'll talk about that later under harms. So I think that Detroit is the mecca of blackness. The
Wakanda.
country. Wakanda, it is, ooh.
Wakanda forever. Sister Amberly, let's go online real quick.
The next hand we have online is one of the coldest.
Hello, this is Ruben James Crowley Jr. To everybody in the room, everybody that's in that room, I want you to hear me clearly. There's been cheating going on in Detroit elections in every elected position. I'm gonna say it again, every elected position in the city of Detroit is now highly in question, highly in question because of the cheating that's been going on at the Detroit Department of Elections. Gina Avery Walker and Janice Winfrey cannot lie their way out of this one. There's conclusive, irrefutable, still too bear trap proof. There's a live, living victim.
Hey, Mr. Crawley, can you hear me, Mr. Crawley? We are talking about the things that we love about being black in the city of Detroit or the city of Detroit. Tell me what you love, Mr. Crawley. Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
Mr. Crawley.
Because what I said is the truth, the absolute truth, and I got still two bear trap proof of what I'm saying.
We
If
know you got
notice,
proof, Mr. Crawley, but
nobody
tell us what you
come forward
love.
with their line.
all right, okay. All right.
All right, well, we're going to put that under harms just for you. You jumped this one topic, but we are going to document that for the next one. Okay, Mr. Crawley, thank
Yeah,
you.
all right, thanks. Thank you for that. Thanks for catching that. Is there somebody else waiting online, Amberly?
The next hand online is Alicia Roberts.
Alicia, you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Hey.
You can actually circle back to me too because I want to answer the next question you have on the agenda.
You can go ahead if you. Thanks for letting us know you're jumping ahead. Go ahead and we'll document it.
Oh, well, you just basically, I want to start off by greeting everyone in the room. I should be there. I couldn't make it on time because I had a Zoom with my PhD group. But anyway, I love Detroit. I'm a proud Detroiter. However, when we talk about the harm, it comes from our elected officials, from the city council all the way up. I live in, I'm a witness, me and my child. I received that home improvement grant. I have paperwork from 2011 to 2017 with contractors in and out my house. I was homeless for 3 years. I owe my house because they stole everything that wasn't nailed down. And I went to city council. Mary Sheffield would not even come out her office to talk to me. She sent her chief of staff out. They told me to go to Detroit Rescue Mission. While I was homeless, I stayed downtown on Tuesdays for months, me and my child. When I tell you, they took from the structure, my doors, my windows, my son's bedroom set, all my heirlooms that I inherited from my grandmother who bought this house in the 40s. So I have appealed to them, everything dead ends. Oh, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help. I've been to Mayor Duggan. I've been to Washington, D.C. I've talked to Washington, D.C., the FBI, just atrocious. My water inspection, my light inspection never passed. So every day I'm living in fear. I don't know if I'm going to burn up or not. I'm educated. I'm a teacher by trade. I'm working on my PhD. But do you know that it took a toll on me mentally and physically? I got diagnosed with depression and fibromyalgia in the interim of all of this. So what can we do about it? I'm not the only one. Somebody needs to help me get my house back on track. I can't afford to do these repairs. My house is in worse condition before I got the grant. I still have a wall open on my second floor.
Miss Alicia, can you give us the name of that program one more time so we can make sure that we at least look into it to the best of our abilities?
Yeah, and I can give you everybody's name, all those crooked people that got their houses done. Yeah, it was called the Home Revitalization Program through City Planning and Development.
Do you have
And I have paperwork. The paperwork I do have that they didn't steal when they was in my house. I was threatened, I was sexually harassed, you name it. And my son, and we in and out of shelters, and we own a house. We happen to go to different schools.
Miss Alicia,
It's atrocious.
do you have our email address? Can you send us all of that via email, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for trusting
And
us
thank
with
you
that
for
pain.
sharing.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry for your experiences there. That did jump us ahead, but these are the experiences we do need to hear about. So what I heard from Alicia was that the neglect of government causes or exacerbates health problems in citizens. And she specifically said, I'm not the only one. This impacts a lot of people. I'm going to try to wrap the first bucket up by throwing out a few more
Member
things.
Larsosa?
And then if there are,
If I
yes.
might say, for the scribe with regards to our caller or our Zoom participant, Alicia, I would also put on there that a repair could be for those home improvement programs by the city of Detroit or the state of Michigan, wherever the funds are coming on, that for our Black residents, there is a wraparound service. So if their home is in so much need of repair that they need to leave it during the renovation period, that there's some sort of housing program for them so they don't become homeless, as well as some sort of fee that is paid for the storage of their personal items so that they are not stolen, and such as she stated happened to her. So that could be a repair that's baked into the programs that people are able to access, like the home, I think she said it was the home revitalization program. Thank you.
Thanks for offering that. So I'll shout out a few things myself. City of Detroit does have a rich history of civil rights struggle. We were formerly the final stop on the Underground Railroad, used to be known, code name Midnight, was City of Detroit. Obviously, we're the largest majority Black city, so as the sister was talking about, we offer a model for water affordability. We also offer our model for racial, economic, and other forms of social justice globally. Speaking a little bit about Black folks in general, particularly our Black women, the most educated group in the country. Shout out to the to the sisters
30
earning
seconds.
degrees at the highest rate. More than 1 in 5 Black men are in the top distribution, top third of the income distribution. So we are high earning. Black folks are patriotic. We enlist in the armed forces and programs like AmeriCorps and Vista at the highest rates. And according to the CDC, a report that came out in around 2016, Black men are more involved with our children than any other group of men in the country in terms of after school, feeding, diapering, quality of time. So, yeah, go ahead, give it a hand.
Clap on that.
A lot of great things going on with Black folks, and Detroit is, as Lacey put it, the mecca for Black folks. Wonderful things going on with us in spite of the circumstances that we face. So speaking of in spite,
Yes.
let's move on to the next bucket.
Right on time.
What are some of the things that Black folks have come up against, either because of the city that we live in, it's done something or sponsored something or because the city sat on its hands.
And we're going to give this about 15 minutes, y'all. So just be conscientious.
And task force members, please, feel free to jump in too.
Okay, so let's start back here, and then we'll have her interject, and then we'll continue in the crowd. Thank you.
My name is Kimberly Canty, and I wanted to talk about the beautification of Detroit. The majority of us have participated in the entertainment industry. The Motown, which has gone global, nobody mentioned that. I was shocked.
Shame on us.
But we here in Detroit have made a global impact on the entertainment industry. And that was also a harm because the majority of the people in Motown were not compensated properly for their contributions. Secondly, we were kidnapped, I say, to LA by the industry, which was another loss. Our history museum has not been taken care of the way it should have been, considering the enormous contributions that we've made to society. Now we can switch over to another harm is our legislation. Over the past 30 years, we lost our court, which goes into the criminality. We are 1 million strong, and we don't have our own local court. This came behind us prosecuting Bustles and Nevers for killing Malice Green. Somehow that's been wiped away. A lot of our young people don't know the history here regarding that, and they don't understand that now their jury is from Livonia, which is mostly populated with ex-Nazis from Germany. So we don't have our own jury pool. We don't have a jury of our peers. Snyder has appointed people at 36th District Court, magistrates who make decisions on your life. My daughter just missed her court date. They never mailed it. They denied her approval. Now her job is in jeopardy. She just got a job at the post office, which is a wonderful thing. But now that her job is in jeopardy because she'll be assessed points, which she never got the opportunity or due process to fight the ticket. So the worst thing that we have is that we've lost our ability of having due process and having our own court and our own jury. Those things will change your life forever. It's the difference between your freedom, you being able to participate economically in life, going to school, because there are also tidbits to that, to getting a Pell Grant if you've been convicted of a felony. And all of these things are done through the sneaky little legislations that they pass. So that is our main goal, is try to overturn or rewrite some of these laws because the penalties are severe for us, and we don't have money to pay an attorney. The majority of us, most people here earn $30,000 or less and are on public assistance. I'm also a caseworker for the state. So the legislation lately that's been passed, they're not going to be paying your DTE bills, which we know are enormous now, your utility bills. The maximum amount for water is $350. My water bill is $200 a month every month once they tack on the taxes. The drainage fee is, I think, $40. So you're not going to be able to afford to live here due to legislation.
Thank you, Ms.
A lot of the things that have gone on in the last 10 years.
Last 10 seconds.
You're not going to be able to live here. The rents increased, your utilities increased. You won't be able to afford to live here.
If you could state your name one more time.
My name is Kimberly Canty.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Kimberly, sorry to have to cut you off. I mean, you had so much rich stuff to share. I just keep in mind on y'all, we got a lot of people in this room. Let's check in online real quick, and I see a couple hands out there. Your hand's been up a couple times. I'll make sure he gets to you. How we doing online?
Online, we still have Detroit Grassroots Coalition.
What was his name? Tell him I promise I'm coming back to him. We cut him off a little bit earlier, just because he jumped ahead. Let's go to the back where you are, Evan.
Oh, Mr. Crowley.
Yeah, Mr. Crowley.
We're good.
Good afternoon. I'm
Good afternoon.
Gwendolyn Howard, AKA Queen. Harms, I think our education system and our police department. I think that as a retired state social worker with the state of Michigan and how I've watched them change the rules regarding our police department and our children. They closed the schools, our kids were bused, they can't be policed, and, well, they can't be watched by the neighbors because you don't know who these people are that they're going to school with. They're bused to different neighborhoods. That, number one. They closed so many schools in the neighborhood that there were, and the good schools they closed. The ones that needed to be closed, they kept open. But kids weren't able to experience the neighborhood experience that I did growing up in Detroit, that we can walk down, everybody walk to school together. All the grandmothers are out on the porch watching the children go, because when there's a stranger in the neighborhood, they recognize that, like, who you belong to, young man, or where are you from, young man. So they didn't get to do that. They didn't get to live that in Detroit. The police department, when you police the neighborhood that you live in, then the kids have a better chance of growing up without felonies or things tacked onto them, because you know their dad. You know them, well, you know better than to do this, or you know better than to do that. When we have outside people policing our children that don't know their story, then they wind up with felonies and misdemeanors and stuff on their records at 17, when in your neighborhood, you say, you better go home, I'm gonna tell your dad, or such and such, and the police car is parked in the neighborhood, so you know that there's an officer there. So I think that the harm that was done to our children growing up was that there was not a neighborhood experience that we grew up with. They didn't get to be parented by each other or each other's parents. So it's some outside entities. And for right now, in real time, I have a brother that works for the police department. He's got his 25 years in, scared to retire because he has a 12-year-old, because he has no insurance. How can we allow that to go on, that the retirees of the city of Detroit will not have insurance when they retire? That's definitely a no-no.
Austerity.
Thank you.
I'm hearing austerity is one of the harms that were caused. So we got a hand, I see you got hands back there, Evan, but I want you to come back up top first, because this gentleman, his head is shiny like mine. His head's been popping up a few times.
Hey, man, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, brother.
My name is J.D. Gavan. I'm representing J&G Palace on the east side of Detroit. We've been in Detroit doing pallets for the last 30 years. This October will be our 30-year anniversary. We employed 16 people that's paying taxes and been paying taxes for the last 30 years. It have got to the point, the property that we own, they're putting so much on the drainage, and even just the land, they're having me paying $1,900 for vacant land drainage. Then they got me paying $850 for one of my properties. They got me paying $5 for another. They got me paying $6 for another. I can't hardly pay the water bill, let's known the drainage. And then they taking the drainage and they put it on my taxes, and they're making me pay interest and penalty for my taxes. I can't pay the water bill because I'm trying to keep the property paying taxes. And they're coming at us several ways, and I have asked Mona, Ali, I also talked with Amanda as far as the drainage. And it seemed like I'm not getting any help from the city. And I told Mayor Duggan in 2008, when they said the last one in Detroit, turn the lights off, I told them that it would be J&G Palace, because we are not going anywhere, because the city will come back, because it's the Motor City.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When I said that, I meant what I said. But now that things are starting to turn around, we're out of bankruptcies, it seems like they're putting more pressure on me to stay in the city. And I'm not for sure if we're going to make our 30th anniversary, which is October. We might be shut down before the end. I don't know if this is the right meeting that I'm supposed to be in, but the Spirit brought me to this one. And this is what I'm at, coming to the city of Detroit that we have been paying taxes for so long, crying out for some help. The rest of the group do not know that I'm here, but God does and you do.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming, bro. So two things. I know the Chair Williams is about to say something too, but I wanted to call out two things. One, make sure you give your contact information to folks in the room who might be able to rally some support.
Yes.
Make sure we capture rain tax as a harm that's been imposed on Detroiters. And Chair Williams.
Brother, Brother just spoke.
I think JD.
Brothers just spoke.
JG.
I have the same problem. They're charging me for a small space. My water bill is $12, and they charge me $700 a month for water draining, water runoff. So get my number. I already filed a Freedom of Information Act with the city of Detroit. That was in November. I still ain't got it, so I may have to I'm getting a lawyer, may have to sue the city to get the information. So I'll take my number, exchange numbers, and we're gonna talk.
We're going to go to Member Hazel and then go back to the room in the back where we had to run away from them to come to my brother. All right. Y'all, let's try to keep our comments short because we about to run low on time for this section.
Okay, this is Janice Hazel, and this is under harms. And one of my concerns is the loss of our spaces and places where music, like Ms. Canty mentioned, was created, the studios, as well as performed. And so as a former music industry executive who actually helped those people who were had got really bad contracts, raising money for them for housing, for medication, for medical, etc. We should be looking at how the city of Detroit, as well as the state of Michigan, through the Michigan Department of Transportation and/or our own Department of Transportation, demolishes and does not save those spaces. One that's in jeopardy right now is United Sound System Studio, which is in jeopardy by Michigan Department of Transportation to be demolished for an off-ramp for I-94. Why is United Sound Studio, built in the 1930s, important? It's a house. Barry Gordy recorded his first acts there before he created and bought all of those places on West Grand Boulevard, along with John Lee Hooker, going way back, as well as Parliament Funkadelic. Okay, George Clinton, you know, I was there when Flashlight was recorded, and others, Bootsy Collins, Aretha Franklin. So many of our artists who are from Detroit, as well as along the world, the Eurythmics, recorded there, and it is a place that should be saved. So it's on city property. It is now owned by the Department of Transportation, the Michigan Department of Transportation, but it's for sale, but they want to demolish it. And the big history is in that building's basement, because that's where the studio is. And it needs to be preserved, along with places like the Bluebird Inn on Tireman, where those of you who are possibly near your 70s were probably partying there back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Those spaces should not rot out, and the Bluebird Inn's roof had caved in. So we need to also save those spaces, because when we're not here to tell the story of how that music was performed and created, Don Davis, some of you might remember, he owned it at one point in time, but it's sitting there ready for demolishment if we don't speak up. So we need to. No, it's not. I'm on the board of directors for the Detroit Sound Conservancy, and the state of Michigan's Department of Motor Vehicles wants to, they've been holding off because we've been advocating for it. They want to demolish it, and that would be a pity and a shame. So one of the harms is how not only the city of Detroit, which is not speaking up for us, for those spaces, and/or buying it, and making spaces like that retrofitted into multi-use, multi-purpose locations. So we need to speak up on the harms of our cultural legacy, such as our creative community.
Thank you, Member
Thank
Hazel.
you. Okay, so I know how many, everybody put your hands up if you're waiting to talk.
Put them up, y'all. Put them up. Put them
Can
up.
somebody up here help me keep track of who's raising their hands?
Yeah, I got one all the way in the back, that young lady, yes. Two. If you've already spoken, let's try and give people who haven't had an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, we'll put you back on stack. I
we
just want to
will,
get the ones who
yes.
haven't spoken first, though.
Yep. So we have one young lady back there I haven't heard from, this gentleman here who is standing, so he'll be up next. And then this middle area, we can go from, what is that, y'all's right to left, and then we can stop in the middle here at the front. So yes, I see you in the alleyway.
Let me start right here with Member Hicks, and then we'll come back there to where you're standing and go in the order that
Yep, I got it.
You got your
Yep,
list?
yep, I got my list. So
Okay,
it's 3:10 right now, so please be conscientious of time with your remarks and comments. We do want to try and keep as close and on topic as we can as we start collecting this data. So if you have anything else that goes beyond the time allotment, please email us. Please, please, please email us. So we're working on harms right now. Thank you for that reminder. We are working on harms right now.
Concise, y'all. Think about what you want to say. 20 seconds or less. Start with Member Hicks.
Yeah, I just want to do, I don't know if this is on or not, but I just wanted to underscore a point that Janice has made, and this has to deal with the erasure of our history. When you really think about it, how critical is this? You know, individually, does it matter whether or not X club is no longer there, whether or not this is no longer there, and so forth? Well, it matters a great deal. As you erase the history, what you do is you're erasing the potential for our people to imagine their futures. That's what you're doing. If you think about it in a real mechanical way, all of us remember walking down our city blocks and we had 20 and 30 houses on a block. I mean, you know, most of us in the room remember that, okay? Now today, there are sections inside of our community, you walk down that block and there's 2 or 3 houses on the block. For some younger people who didn't have that early experience, their sense of what is common is 2 or 3 houses on a block. So it reduces their ability to imagine, if you will, what a community really looks like. You know, so this whole question of erasing history, and they do it under a lot of different banners. Most importantly, they do it under flagging some kind of safety issue, and then they do it under demolishing, you know, property and so on and so forth. But for everything that's down, it's erased from our history. Very few people know and can even walk by the Algiers Motel, for example. You know, a lot of people don't even know where it is. Clearly, the Algiers Motel incident is a critical incident that occurs in the city of Detroit, that occurred in the city of Detroit, that clearly pointed out the extent to which the police had outrageous behavior and abused and even killed citizens in the city. And there are a number of other those incidents. So this erasure of our history is a critical item.
Erasure of history. Yeah, my school, I can't walk. It's not there no more.
Okay, hold on, Jason. So really quickly, y'all, I do want y'all to be considerate if this would be appropriate for this activity or for public comment, because we do still have a segment for public comment. And to also ensure that we make it to that segment, would y'all be offended if we start implementing a timer? This is a beautiful conversation, but I do want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to speak. And then once again, if you don't, please email me, okay? So go ahead, Jason.
20-second timer, y'all.
20-second
Think
timer,
it through.
y'all.
I see you, sis. You're on there. You on stack.
Peace to the family.
I know.
Peace to the family. What are we, about 80% black in Detroit? 85%. Most of y'all that are experiencing all of these issues and everything, we're going through a form of gentrification. The biggest problem with that is that I don't see where the black residents are getting anything up out of it. I don't see an increase in black businesses. I think that's something that's very important. We need to be able to not only hire our own, but move forward in that area. We have a lot of immigrants coming into the town, but they're taking the money up out of the communities. But with our own...
Supporting of black businesses, I hear you say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There
Thank
you
you,
go.
brother. Let's get
Thank
the
you
next
so
one.
much. Thank you. Oh, yes, right to the corner. If you could stand and state your name. And then there was a young lady across from you. I see you in the aisleway. There was somebody across from you. Did you still have a comment? If you're still in that area? Okay. And then I'll come to you in the aisleway, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is LaTanya Martin. I've been to a couple of these meetings, and I never heard anyone speak about the HUD subsidies. These owners that are buying these buildings or already have ownership treat the tenants so bad. First and foremost, Detroit Building and Safety inspectors, they do not have mold inspectors. And I know this because I had to call, and they didn't have any. They are not finding these owners of these buildings. The deputy mayor said last year at a meeting, I asked him, how come every time they build new apartment buildings. They are already full to capacity.
Right.
We have no way of knowing when these units are available because they're already full.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to create a website. They never did. When you call the Housing Commission, they don't answer the phone. When you go online to try to get in touch with them, the internet is sending you all over the place to different questions instead of the question you ask. We all know how the internet works.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
But the main thing is that these owners of these buildings, I don't know if they're being fined or not, but I'm an activist.
Okay.
And where I live, I help the people where I live.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I
Could you
just
state
wanted
your
to make
name
the
once
point.
more? And then also, please make sure to get our email address. Please, please, please.
LaTanya Martin.
All right. And my takeaway from your comment is that it was the HUD subsidies and then just the marketing in general for the new apartment and the affordable housing availability.
Right here?
Access to affordable quality housing.
right here.
In the new developments.
Yes.
Okay. Yes,
And then-
ma'am.
And then over.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then over and then up. Then over at the end and then up.
Yes.
Thank you, Brenda Andrews.
Hi,
I
Brenda.
appreciate the dialogue, and I just say, doing a fine job, but if you want to control the time, control it on the front end so that those on the back end
Yeah.
don't have to feel
Rushed. Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
some people that talk 5 minutes, I'm going to talk 5 minutes.
Oh, my God. Yes, ma'am.
Brenda Andrews retired from Detroit Police Department after 30 years. Appreciate some comments that someone made, back there. Under the harms, and the young lady alluded to it, is residency. That brought a lot of harm to our community, and I can go on and on about that. Certainly the bankruptcy and emergency management brought some other harms, to the city of Detroit. And I was part of being in court every day on that lawsuit and losing our medical and any number of things going forward. So I definitely, understand that. But I think somewhere in this discussion, maybe not today, another day, we have to talk about what we as Black people need to do. Because a lot of times we get caught up on what has happened to us, but what are we doing to make things better? And one thing I'm going to say is voting. You can get the statistics and see how many people in the city of Detroit vote. I vote in every election. I don't care what it is. So unless we want to rectify some of these things, talking about legislators and what the city council doesn't do and what this one doesn't do, these are elected officials, and we have the power to do something with that. So if that discussion, whatever we're doing here, if we don't talk about getting out the vote and voting in critical masses, this is just an exercise in futility.
Voting initiatives
Yes,
is what I
thank
heard.
you so much.
All the way down at the end, and all the way down at the end, yep, and then up right here. And as a piece of housekeeping, y'all, we're going to move toward the recommendations. We're only going to have about 10 minutes to talk about our recommendations. It'll be a speed round. But I also want you, these are going to stay up. You'll have an opportunity to walk the room and write your ideas, get your handwriting captured on the way out or at some point before we leave today. So don't worry if you didn't get to speak about it, you can write it.
Get the survey, take the survey, email us. Whenever you're thinking about something, please, 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 please email us. We do check those emails. And then I wanted to add to the voting comment, informed voting. Don't just go in there blindly. Make sure you do your due diligence and make sure you're an informed voter. All right, to our next comment.
All right, 2 harms, and they might also be recommendations, that the Michigan Constitution be amended to align with the federal Constitution in requiring governments to pay back over taxation. That is something that's in Michigan's Constitution, but somehow it's not in the Constitution or laws of 47 out of 50 other states. Just saying. That's one harm, and the second one is that slavery was based upon partus sequitur ventrum. And that's a Latin term that means that which comes from the womb follows the womb. So, if you're going to repair slavery, you must trace legacy through Black mothers. Just saying, if you want to be technical about it, because you have to fix slavery. If you're fixing genocide, trace it through Black men. But if you're fixing slavery, trace it through Black mothers, because the children of white mothers have already inherited from America's founding fathers.
Thank you.
I think we should, are we getting that as a recommendation? Tracing through the heritage of black mothers. Right here.
we got one right
and then
here.
we're going to, so we got two back to back. This young woman here.
How many of
and then
y'all
directly
use your
behind her.
arm joints? Stick your
And then
hand
we're
up.
going-
I can't see.
And
Use
then
your
we're
arm
going
joints.
online.
Okay.
And then I see one behind you too, Evan. So 1, 2, 3. Raise your hand, sister.
Yep, I see one, and then I see a hoodie, and then I see, the stripes, and then we can go online.
Y'all, very quick comments because I want to leave time for the best part, which is the recommendations. All right.
Thank you all so much.
Excuse me. Oh. Hi, how are you? My name is Sharon Sexton. I'll be very quick.
Thank you,
Basically,
Sharon.
my thing that I do for Detroit is correct history, which has been wrong to us or forgotten about hundreds of years ago. And I want to invite everybody in the room, including you all on the panel, to come out to the Juneteenth celebration, which is taking place at Camp Ward. For those of you who don't know what Camp Ward is, that is where the 102nd Colored Troops trained for the Civil War. They couldn't train over at thank you,
With the
Fort
white
Wayne, because they were black, so they were put out in the fields over here. And the other thing where I'm going to get to the harm is that when the brothers came back from the Civil War, they were invited to settle down or put up their tents again at Camp Ward, because before they left during the Civil War in 1863, March of 1863, I do believe it's March 17th of 1863, since I know that there are some historians on the panel, that is when the Copperhead Democrats went through the city of Detroit and destroyed, burnt down the black community, which you all didn't know about. What was in the black community that they burnt down was the first symphony orchestra in Detroit called the African Symphony Orchestra. They also burnt down not 1, not 2, but 3 black schools that you all don't know about, which employed not only a superintendent, but 6 teachers, 3 of whom were female. They also burnt down other businesses, which I'm not going to bore you with. But anyhow, so we are celebrating Camp Ward because the brothers came back after the Civil War. This is where Black Bottom started for black people. Right next to what used to be Duffield Elementary School, renamed as Bunch Elementary
A
School.
few more seconds, sister.
Across from the Coleman Young Center. I have information for you, history of the site. It was also the site in 1763 where Pontiac and the British had their little war.
Okay.
So this is a very historic site. I'm trying to get it designated as a historic site, so I hope you come out and support us. Plus, we need to redeem what was taken away from the black people in 1863. Nobody was ever got they never got fulfilled for what they lost, and we never got a black symphony orchestra again.
Put some of those.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon.
Put some of those specifics on the papers when you get an opportunity.
Grab a marker, and then
leave,
also
leave those on the registration table. Sorry.
Yep. You're good. You're good. We definitely want all of that to be written.
Behind
We
you.
need the cards, and then also, or at the back, if you put the cards at the back. But send us a digital copy so we can also send that out. I would love to support that, or at least send it to me.
Madam Chairwoman, may I ask the gentle lady, I didn't
Ms.
get her
Sharon?
name.
Ms. Sharon Sexton.
To definitely provide us with her contact information. Okay, because we need to get all of that in oral histories
Absolutely.
to inform our final report. So definitely, some are saying you have her contact, but we need to schedule the oral history.
Okay, so as a piece of housekeeping, what we'll do is take the final comments on harm. We'll see whatever is online. I think that we're just going to have to do it to be continued on recommendations unless folks have them, which, good. We'll stay engaged.
Yes. We do have surveys.
And we also
surveys.
have public comment. So if people want to, put their recommendations in public comment, I just really want to be respectful of our time. And I want to keep you all on the hook for next time. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Rashid Abdullah, and I actually have recommendations. I would recommend that maybe this committee look into the mental illness epidemic in Detroit, as well as the drug rehabilitation status of its citizens. The drug rehabilitation and the mental illness epidemic that's happening in the city, I actually also have a recommendation about, it's not many black venture capitalists in this country that concentrate on black tech startups or any other type of startup businesses, which will actually pump wealth into the community for generations, as well as, I don't know if this committee ever considered co-op real estate development projects. It happened in New York and other major cities where black people actually go into a co-op to buy $1 million apartment buildings, and they own each apartment in that building, and they go in it as a co-op, as well as the charter schools. Detroit used to have a lot of black charter schools. I don't know if that's being considered by this committee as well.
Yes, and y'all, you don't get to tell him his thoughts are wrong.
And, you know, I mean,
Yes,
because I
and.
went to Aisha Shule and I went to Academy of Detroit, and it was actually a good experience for me. And they had a lot of college preparation that public schools didn't have.
So I heard mental health, drug treatment, schools.
Black venture capitalism.
Venture capitalists.
Co-op real estate.
Co-op ownership of real estate.
And more legal representation for black citizens, legal representation in family court and criminal court.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you,
If you got more,
Rasheed.
make sure you just put them on the wall, okay? Final one behind you.
Yep.
Sister right there. That only give a quarter hand raise.
Thank you, thank you.
My name is Levita Davenport.
Hi, Levita.
I represent the Labor Day Organization, which is a nonprofit that is meant to help Black people and Detroiters experience abundance. And I want to give recommendations. Many of what he shared are very much aligned with the mission that we have. But really, the heart of it is people. And I think the disconnect in our communities where we haven't come together. We've been very separated, very individualized, which has been pushed by capitalism, right? Everybody got to take care of himself. But we have delayed the response and delayed the reaction to problems and harms that have come. So we have a people have to step up en masse sooner, without apathy, without fear, and speaking to the resilience that we've had, which is one of the beautiful aspects of Black people and Detroiters. We just need to re-engage that in a massive way as both individuals and community.
Thank you, sister. Amberly, what we got online?
We currently do not have any hands raised online.
Okay, so can we give a special shout out and thanks to our volunteers, y'all, for doing the work of scribing. And to everybody who was able to weigh in and give input. And last but not least, to the only brother who got my buzzer, because I couldn't get it to work after that. He took it like a champ in a sport. Thank you so much, brother, for being such a good sport and letting us cut you off early. And then we ended that practice. Thanks, man. We took your idea, though. And for a point of clarification, earlier somebody mentioned Black enterprise. And I know that it's Black business, but it was specifically Black enterprise that somebody noted an opportunity for. Yeah, as a recommendation. All right, y'all, I think this is our discussion. We'll pick this back up another time. Thanks for your participation.
Thank
Don't forget to walk
you.
around
Thank
and
you
add
so
your thoughts to the papers.
All right. Well, thank
Madam
you
Chair?
so much, Member Lars Sosa. I thought that was fantastic. I hope you guys have an opportunity to, again, email us with anything that you didn't get to state today in this room. I do hope that this may be an exercise that we may be interested in pursuing in our upcoming public meetings, or if not, this is something that y'all send us via email because we love digital communication. We are going to get right back on track with this agenda. Let's see here. Line item number 9 is unfinished business. So to the body, do we have any unfinished business? Going once, going thrice. All right. Moving on to line item number 10. Any new business? Going once, going thrice. Oh. Yes, the public comments are coming right after new business. So now the newly amended line item number 11 is going to be public comment. So for those of you who did get to participate in the exercise but just had additional comments, we're going to allow you, let's see what time it is. 3:30. It's 3:30. So is everybody comfortable? 2 minutes, y'all. And we're actually going to have our timer for this one. So we're going to allow you 2 minutes. Would it be easier, Evan, to have them stand in the center for you, right behind where you are? Charles, is that okay for your cameras? Is that good? Oh, who said they can't stand? Okay, so let's make sure we get, okay. So we're good? Okay, so if everybody else that has public comment, if you could fall in line right behind Evan, who is our community liaison in the beige jacket. I appreciate you all so much. We are going to give you all 2 minutes for public comment.
Oh, you got it?
Okay, and Member Jack, thank you so much for graciously being our timer. And we can go ahead and, are you ready? Get started, thank you. State your name, please.
Tahira Ahmed. Detroit homeowners were overtaxed illegally $600 million and illegally foreclosed 100,000 homes. My recommendation is that we go to city council meetings and tell them we want our money and we want it now. This ain't J.G. Wentworth. It's our money and we want it now. Also, I want us to concentrate on self-determination because we do not have self-determination. I would love to see that. I recommend that we also write a letter to have Mike Duggan, the task force should have Mike Duggan approach this man publicly and tell them that we recommend that you give the people back their money and admit to your harms that you did to us in stealing our money. And then finally, because what it is a quid pro quo that we're dealing with here. And Mr. Duggan told me, and Coleman Young II told me about home repair. Because I spoke out against him in public comment in city council, he said, that's why I'm not getting home repairs. So they are purposely keeping home repairs from people in Detroit. So we need to set up a fund to get home repairs because that's how they're moving people out. And I thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Good afternoon, Pamela Dewberry, District 1. My comments to board is, where are the minutes from the previous meetings? You have these meetings, we only have our meetings once a month. We need minutes because I like to come in and sit down, which you had a sticker on the door. You weren't going to open the door till 1:55, and that's upsetting to those that have disabilities. Okay, we have to stand out there and wait. So you need to get the minutes together, give us time to read the minutes because there's something in there that some people have probably their first meeting. They need to know what was going on last month. And these things, you know, they need to come up to speed.
Thank you, Ms. Dewberry.
I just wanted to make an announcement in regards to the water drainage fee. Macomb County sued Detroit and won. They did not.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Macomb County sued the Detroit Water and Sewage Department regarding the drainage fees, and they won. They do not have to pay the fee. Only people that are paying the fee are Detroiters.
Wow.
However, Macomb and Oakland County residents are using our sewer system. The water comes in at Belle Isle at the water treatment plant, Bel Air at the water treatment plant on 8 Mile and Van Dyke. That's how their sewage runs down through the city to the treatment plant on West Jefferson. This is a violation of the Headley Act for the state constitution, so that's how they won their lawsuit. So we need to sue as well. In order for you to keep your property, you have to file suit against the City of Detroit Water and Sewage Department. Also, they cannot foreclose on you for fees, to my knowledge, regarding your property taxes. That was something that was done to us, another harm from Kwame.
Thank you, Ms. Canty.
Yes, Barbara Gibson again. I have so many little rabbit holes I want to discuss, but I'll just keep mine focused on the national. We're trying to also incorporate this local task force in line with the national. We keep, I see us spend a lot of time at these little forums, little silos, and I don't hear anything getting done, whether it's the minutes, whether it's information. We're not getting anything done. So coming July 19th, well, Juneteenth, in the national, they're pushing out these cards. They're pushing Biden to, if you're going to earn Detroit votes, earn it. And if he's scared of Trump now, then whatever. But at this point in time, at this point in time, we need to quit playing with this. We need to quit trying to piecemeal partial reparation task forces all over the country and forget about the national movement that has been going on since H.R. 40. We have to start combining what we do in our little silos in line with what the national is doing. I have some postcards here. I saw a friend of mine pass some out. There's just one step, one action. Put a stamp on a postcard. You can write your little name on it, and let's flood the White House with, we want our reparations. We want it on all levels. It's been sitting around, so we need to kind of push this. So I will be organizing a stamp out Juneteenth at Kwanzaa Park. For those of you who don't know what Kwanzaa Park is, it's right there on Prevost and Puritan. Come out. I'm going to get some sponsors, even if I have to use my own money. Get a hot dog, hamburger or something, a bag of chips, and bring a stamp. Just bring a stamp. That's all it costs. Just bring a stamp. You can get a hot dog, chip, a little something to eat, and let's flood Detroit. Let's flood it all over. Let's let Biden know that if you want something from us, you're not going to be able to just get it just because and make that statement, well, wait till I get in office. You're already in office.
Thank you, Barbara Gibson.
Okay.
Make sure to send us that information about your Juneteenth event to our email so we can do a big blast, okay?
Yes.
Come on, Barbara Gibson.
Well, you know I'm going to do it.
I know.
Thank
Thank you.
Cecily McClellan. I'm with We the People of Detroit, also a retiree of the city of Detroit. We have many past harms that African Americans have suffered here in this city of Detroit. But most recently, and I like to focus on, is the emergency management law. It's been a lot of talk of that law, but that law was imposed on over 50% of the African Americans in the state of Michigan. And as a result of that emergency management law, the city of Detroit was robbed, as we've often talked about, of our assets, and the water department being one major asset. And that asset means that on an annual basis, GLEWA, or the Great Lakes Water Authority, is giving us 50 million, we're paying 15 million of it, so it's only 35 million. And that means that we are being grossly discriminated against in terms of our asset. That needs to be amended. That contract is in place for 40 years. It will automatically renew in 40 years, and therefore it will be 50. There's no cost increase. It will be maintained. The water department was one of the entities that allowed black folks to come in and get a job and come into the middle class. So we need to make sure that we go back and look at that. Emergency management took over our schools, decimated our neighborhoods. So one of the things is we want an apology for emergency management. We want the emergency management law appealed, and we want every entity that was stolen under emergency management to be revisited and to be returned.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Absolutely. So right before we give the next one, the cards are being passed out because we're not finna wait. We're not waiting. We're going to go get some stamps today, and we're going to put them in the mail today. So the cards are coming around today, so we can do it right now instead of sitting on it, okay?
And we get ready to do that to MVP Black Card. I'm working on some stuff.
Thank you. All right, we're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Attorney Norel Hemphill, and I volunteer at We the People of Detroit. I work on water rights and water affordability. Water is a human right, and we're working to secure the human right to water right here in Detroit. When we talk about reparations, some of the things that come to mind, as Mama Cecily just mentioned, is the return of assets to Detroiters. Again, I work on water rights and water affordability, so the thing that I focus on is the Detroit Water and Sewage Department. She mentioned already the lease. again, the asset that was stolen under the contrived bankruptcy under emergency management, where we're getting an inequitable amount of money for the use of our assets. With that, also, the liquidation of the asset. Right now, DWSD is on a 40-year lease agreement that automatically renews. And under that lease agreement, if an asset is sold that previously belonged to Detroit, the proceeds of that asset then gets turned over to GLEWA. And then if an asset is required with that same money that came from the sale of that previous asset, the new asset then belongs to GLEWA. So it's not only an inequitable lease, it amounts to the liquidation of a very lucrative, very profitable asset that belonged to Detroiters. So when we look at Detroiters not having jobs, and we look at the roads, we look at the housing, we look at all of that, there could be equitable revenue coming from that. Also, we pay 87% of the combined sewer overflow from the suburbs. So, which is another inequitable thing. And really quickly, finally, I'll talk about education. We pay 87%.
You need another sheet.
For the combined sewage overflow from the suburbs. So that's processing the combined sewage overflow that comes from the suburbs. And just so you know, combined sewage overflow, you'll see it as CSO in the documents from DWSD, and that's where the stormwater and the sewage, so the waste that comes from our house, comes all the way, comes to the city of Detroit.
Thank you, Attorney Hemphill.
Can I say one last thing about education? Because it's something that's happening right now to our children. So right now, as we know, there's an epidemic of opioids and marijuana use amongst our teens. Right now in the Detroit, Detroit Public School, CD, they're proposing and looking at putting more police officers in our schools right now. So that's something that needs to be addressed. My daughter is a student in Detroit Public Schools, but what we know is that that's a situation that's not happening only in Detroit, but again, with the over-policing and the criminalizing of our babies, that's a place where they're going to put police with our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jeremy. I'm going to make mine totally brief, but I just want to try to understand the numbers because to me, looking at this, you said that 85, or somebody mentioned that 85% of the population of Detroit is black. 20% of the people in the city only votes. You're looking at the solution right in front of your face, you got the majority right there. So one of the things that I look towards is trying to understand what the division is within the black community in order to divide this, because the solution is right here. Today you're talking about 85%. Future plans that number may go down to 60% and 50%, and once you lost that, you lost just about everything because of the things that was mentioned before, that we did have the water and all those assets, and all this particular division is costing us a lot in the community. So the only thing that I want to say more is that I've been a part of a lot of different programs in the city in terms of like drugs and rehabilitation and things like that. But we need to sit down. I want to know what you guys' solutions is to some of these particular problems that's going to come about this, like in the next meeting. But also we need to bring financial literacy back into these programs. We need to bring voting campaigns and getting people to understand how critical it is to vote at the local level and then at the state level. And we need also mental health issues and just making people, building families together in restoration and making sure overall that we are comprehensive in building back the black community and get beyond the division, because the last time I looked at it, the majority has always been able to outmaneuver the minority. So that's all that I basically have going forward. And I just hope that you guys can look at some of those recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Jeremy. Jason, if you could, can you add voter education to a repair?
Civics.
Civics. Civics in school. Is it already on there? Because I know we were talking about the vote in general, but voter education to go along with it, particularly the local level versus, okay, wonderful. Okay.
I ain't mad.
Oh, we're ready.
Yeah. Hello. Again, my name is David, Detroit resident. I'm bouncing a little bit off of Baba's back here, talking about the reparations, and I'm talking about cash payment reparations.
Yes, sir.
Along with a anti-black hate crime bill, at which we should all get. Right now, this is an important time at which Trump is winning right now, and he got, what, 31 indictments?
34.
34. So the fact of the matter is that we have the ball in our court, because as Biden goes down, this right here, these are some of our demands. We can demand this and force them to take us seriously. They provided us with nothing. Anti-hate crime bill, cash payment reparations, lineage-based. And this is something that we can get, and I do believe that it's something that's coming in the future. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I think it's very important that education, again, a lot of people don't know what, a lot of our people don't know what reparations is or means. It's not a program, cash payment. It's something that we should have got during the 1866 treaties with the Indians. But
I agree.
That's it.
I agree. Thank you so much. So we have about 14 minutes left. Emberly, is there anybody online? Because I see two more public comment in person, not in public, in person. And I want to make sure everybody speaks. We have one? Okay, wonderful. So we're going to give these last three people, and we're going to close public comment online and in person. Thank you.
My name is Gene Cunningham, and as I proposed last month, I will again reiterate, I propose global trade with Africa and the Caribbean, utilizing the soon-to-be vacated Renaissance building for trade and tourism offices for every African and Caribbean nation and any other nation affected by the North Atlantic slave trade, to form joint partnerships with Detroit-based African-American businesses in import-export. As I said before, 20 years ago, this was part of a program that came out of the Empowerment Zone economic section known as E4.1, which was a part of a document called Jumpstarting the Motor City, which was approved by HUD, the entire city council, the mayor, the state legislature, and the United States Congress and President. It was never implemented because the two agencies that were the implementing agencies, the Greater Detroit Chamber of Commerce and the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, never came up with a plan. As a result of that, I was appointed to direct a city council task force under the late Honorable Barbara Rose Collins to come up with a plan in order to create over 50 import-export businesses in Detroit with the African continent and the Caribbean. That it was never funded. The Empowerment Zone Development Corporation went out of business before they could make a decision, and the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation frittered away the money, frankly. But all of this information I will put on the back of my statement card and leave with you, because it's all a matter of public record. It's in the city archives, whatever's left of the Detroit Municipal Library, which was destroyed purposely.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cunningham. I really appreciate that. And thank you for reminding us that you gave this to us. Thank you so much. All right, we have one more in person and then one online.
Yes, my name's Larry Edwards. I'm just calling with a more or less a question from the start of how did we get here at this point? I've heard, in sitting here, I heard the good of the days of old. I've heard the harms of the days of old, as well as it leads up to now and what have you. Well, I like to say it's, in answering that, it's been through government, been through politics, it's been through sellouts, it's been through, with 60 years of people in politics that through, I'm just going to say, the Democrat Party and everything, that have done absolutely nothing. Nothing. You can't name one thing that you got other than symbolism. Everybody else gets something for what they do. They don't even support them and what have you. We got to hold ourselves accountable for things and what have you, and hold them accountable for things and what have you. They do it through organizations, through systems. Malcolm X made the statements over 60 years ago and everything in regards to what the liberals are. They're the most evil person it is if you're not going to stand on their neck and hold them up, accountable. We know what the Republicans are about and everything, but the Democrats, they play like they're your friends and what have you, and then sit over there and stab you in the back. It's time to wake up.
Thank you so much. All right, Emberly, can we go online?
Online, we have Detroit Grassroots Coalition.
All right, Detroit Grassroots Coalition. Thank you.
Okay, can I be heard? Thank you so much for your time. I just want to just say to my Black Americans that we need to be focused on our solutions and our repair. And when I say solutions, we are not supposed to be doing the work of government. Detroit has put us in this predicament. So how dare we say that we're going to waste our time to tell them what to do when they're not going to do it? And I have to underscore that Juneteenth is for Black Americans. It is an American holiday, okay? We are not Africans. I hear everybody talking about Black folk. I need this committee and I need everybody there to understand that Black folk is Black American. Just because you're melanated does not mean you're Black. So we really need to get down to who we are talking about is being repaired. When you're talking about retirees, you're talking about everybody. When you're talking about going to an African festival to get their opinions on Black American reparations, it's absurd. That's what it is. I really want you to get focused on what reparations are. Don't call this task force a reparations task force. This whole display today was a waste of time. How many surveys do we need to talk about? Where's the surveys that y'all got from the University of Michigan and Columbia? The young lady who was talking about where are the meetings? Where's the meetings? Period. They should be on YouTube. I am sick and tired of running around every subcommittee meeting, running around to these task force meetings. What the heck is going on? Y'all not talking about Black Americans, but you want to talk about Motown. You want to talk about civil rights. You want to talk about all of these things that were solely upon Black Americans to get things done. If it wasn't for civil rights, no African, Jamaican, or Caribbean would even be stepping on this soil. Understand that you are Black Americans and reparations are solely.
That's time.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So that will end public comment. Thank you all so much for participating. I believe, let me look at my agenda. We have a few announcements. Well, I'll give my announcements. Again, our email address is reparations@detroitmi.gov. So for any ideas that you have, for any suggestions that you have, any requirements or feedback that you have from today's session or any other sessions, please tap in with us, sign up, and make sure that we have your contact information so we can stay connected to you. The back table does have a sheet with some QR codes. There are surveys on there talking about feedback for sessions like this, for things you'd like us to see, that you would like to see us do. There we go. And then also, I believe,
Collect the survey.
oh, yes. Complete the surveys. Please complete the surveys. And if you can turn them in today, that will be spectacular. There will be somebody at the back to collect them.
I have an
Okay, Member Hazel.
Hi, Janice Hazel. For the gentleman in the reparations T-shirt and all others, I worked in the White House and wrote for President Obama. Please do not say these things in just these rooms. Please write the White House. If you don't have a stamp, if you have access to the internet, please write the White House. It's very easy, www.whitehouse.gov. And if you want to search on the spot or go to contacts, there's a contact form for you to write what your issue is. So much like the Earn the Vote campaign, please write, because that's what counts. In your members of Congress office, where I've worked, as well as the White House, if they're not getting actual comments, letters, phone calls, the White House phone number is area code 202-456-1111, and they do answer the phone and take your comment. But the letters and the emails is what really costs. So I hope that people won't just say what they want in spaces like this. You got to activate, and you've got to actually contact them, because unfortunately, when members of Congress and the president say, well, I haven't gotten much feedback or people writing, and I did see President Obama walk through the White House Office of Presidential Correspondence, where I was a staff person, and he would grab up documents. What is this? And he would personally respond. But that was the responsibility of people like me. So please, you can do that. If you go to Instagram, Facebook, you can go to whitehouse.gov. And if you don't get one of those cards, you can also write about federal reparations, that's H.R. 40 or House Concurrent Resolution 414. All you need to do is put Joe Biden, Washington, D.C. You don't even need the zip code. It will get there. You do need to put a stamp on it. If you want to get more detailed, no, honestly, the post office, if you just write President Biden or U.S. President, Washington, D.C., it will get there with the stamp. But also, if you want to be very detailed, write the White House, and that will be the President, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20500. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hazel. Member Parker.
Yeah, I just want to make an announcement that the Housing and Land Use Committee is meeting Monday, June the 3rd at 5:30. In the back is the Zoom number that you can use to come and join us, and we'll be discussing our recommendations that we have. So we really welcome your type of input.
Thank you, Member Parker. Were there any more announcements from task force members? All right, I'd like to open the floor for a motion for adjournment.
Made the motion.
Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon.